Philosophy Podcast. Man, I just screwed that up.
Live on the front porch.
Yeah, live on the front porch. It is Southern Fried Philosophy. Guys, we are so... Thank you. Out of the gates, we stumble, we fall, but we get ourselves picked up, and we roll again.
There's an excuse.
There is a very big excuse. If you're watching on Facebook Live, we just want to say we're sorry. The audio is going to be horrible this episode. This is our first time. We are doing the entire episode on my side porch. So we are back together. We've had 57% of us, I think, have had our COVID shots. So the other half hasn't, or whatever the math is on that, has not had it. But we felt comfortable to do a show. And we have a special guest that's here with us, the Whiskey Priest. So we are going to do the show here live from my side porch. So, again, we've got a great show lined up for you as always. But before we begin, let me introduce you to our starting lineup. Running the Facebook Live, the YouTube Live, it is Magic Man.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
And, of course, Producer Brian is running everything else.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
And, of course, I'm your illustrious host, Biggin. And how about you? So I'm going to ask Brian, where do people find us on the socials?
Right. We are on the Facebooks at Southern Fried Philosophy. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at SFP Radio. You can always email the show at sfpradio@gmail.com. We are on the web at southernfriedphilosophy.com if you want to type all those letters, or at sfpradio.com. Mm-hmm. If you want to support the show, we would love that. Go to patreon.com/sfpradio. I'm running out of chicken sandwich money. And then you can always catch us streaming on iHeartRadio, Spotify, the TuneIn app, any podcast provider anywhere in the world, because we are worldwide.
We are, which, again, I look at the stats and I'm like, how in the world are we worldwide? But I appreciate everybody that does that. It's great. YouTube subscribers, again, we know that there are more than 100 of you, so please go out to YouTube. I did notice that our numbers did jump up a little bit on YouTube, so I appreciate that. We are 60 shy, though, so we need you guys to go 60.
60, that's doable.
Yeah, that's definitely doable. So 60 of you guys, go to YouTube. Get your phones out right now. Go to YouTube.com and then search Southern Fried Philosophy and then subscribe. You don't have to do anything else. Yeah. That's it.
And if you really want to help out, so there's a little trick with YouTube.
Okay.
YouTube is tied to Google accounts. I have like 4 different Google accounts.
Oh, that's genius.
So in some places, I've subscribed to things I'm interested in or want to promote 4 different times under 4 different aliases. So if you have a Google like work address or something, you technically have a YouTube account.
Okay.
That's smart. Very smart.
So help us game the system, guys.
All right.
I like it. Very good. So if you've done it before, alas, you can actually just go out and make 60 different accounts because they're free,
right?
And then just sign up. You ain't got nothing else to do.
I mean, you probably want one for all these advertisements anyway. So
right.
That's smart, yeah.
If you are staying at home and you want to do your own podcast, you want to have some video editing, what have you, shoot Producer Brian an email at headlines@sfpradio.com. He'll be glad to get with you, do whatever needs to be done for your work. That would be great. If you also want to be a show sponsor, it's not expensive. It's not as expensive as you think, and you get worldwide notoriety.
Yep.
Somebody in Syria will listen to this and they're like, wow, I really want to buy your t-shirts because they sound awesome. So you can go worldwide with that. So shoot me an email at sfpradio@gmail.com. Next week, we have Doug Knoll. He is, now listen to his like little things at the end. JD and MA. I don't know what any of those means except JD, and that's Jack Daniel, but I don't think that's what it stands for. But he is an award-winning author, speaker, and training. He had 22 years as a trial lawyer. He has become a peacemaker and a mediator. Today, he helps people solve deep conflicts and teaches others to do what he does. He's also an adjunct professor at Pepperdine Law, where he teaches decision-making under uncertainty conflict.
I'm intimidated.
How did he come on the show?
Well, he's not on the show.
Well, I mean, he's going to come on.
There's still time.
Yeah. he could back out, which he probably should. Look, we're not smart already, but he's going to make us look like idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may ask yourself, why would I want to listen to this dude? Because on his thing, he said, I can teach you guys how not to argue with your wife. So that right there was like, okay, let's figure that out. That'd be great. I don't want to argue with my wife.
That's worth its weight in gold.
Also, he might be able to teach us how to win when we do argue with our wife.
There's no such thing.
There's something right there. So we are going to have him on. It's going to be awesome. He's written some books, so I want to just pick his brain on conflict, especially in today's society, right? Like, everybody's got conflict. Things are going crazy. So how do you de-escalate some of the stuff that's going on? So I thought you would be a good guest. We want to say shout out to our listener from Syria. We actually do have a listener from Syria, so I want to say, I don't know how you say hi.
You say hello there, right?
I don't know. Somebody Google that for me. Siri, how do you say that? I don't know. But we still need Alaska. So if anybody is in Alaska or knows somebody in Alaska, shoot them a message and say, you need to listen to SFP Radio. We still have yet to hear from Sarah Palin's folks. If we don't hear back, we're going to have to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
call somebody.
And I don't know who we're going to call in Alaska.
Where do they make something? Like we did maple syrup for Vermont.
Right.
Where do you get from Alaska?
Nome, Alaska, up there in the...
What?
You know, the town, the Nome?
Nome.
Up there at the very top?
Can we call it Eskimo?
Can you just Google Eskimos and how to contact them?
Okay.
Anyway.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe we call them moose, bullwinkle.
Well, we call like one of those national parks and talk to the park rangers.
Yeah,
bears up there.
Oh, yeah. Yogi. Oh, no, that's yours.
That's wrong bear.
Yeah.
Do abominable snowman.
Abdominal snowman?
Abdominal, yeah.
That's what I call my belly.
I'm with them.
So I'm going to ask you guys like I ask you every week. How do you return? Magic Man.
Well, speaking of bellies, I went Monday for a physical.
Buddy.
Yeah, I'm now a member of the 300
Whoa,
plus club.
Congrats, buddy. Oh, we're not cheering for that?
Oh.
Yeah, so, you know.
Give him a
I'm sorry.
hit the wrong button.
I hit the wrong button. I'm so sorry.
There we go.
Thank you.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, so I guess I'm now a member of, what was it, Fat Five Fat?
Fat Five Fat. Welcome. Congrats. We appreciate you being in. Wow. So anything else on the physical? That was it. Did you get the old DRE?
No DRE. Thank goodness.
Ooh.
Yeah. Thank goodness. But typical lose weight.
That's good.
Nice. But yeah, no. The doctor said it. I need to lose weight, but everything else looked okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I got that going for me.
Producer Brian, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I was relaxed. I didn't do like any work last week. So I was on vacation.
Yeah.
But yesterday I got my second COVID vaccine shot.
Okay.
And I've been trying to think about how to describe what it feels like. Some people had side effects or felt bad. I got tired, but I figured out what it felt like this morning at some point. Ooh. And I don't know if Big and Imagine, if you've ever heard of this before. There's a thing called a bench press.
I've heard of
You've heard of it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. If you've ever been to the gym and you really killed it on bench press.
Oh, no.
Only I did it on one arm.
Ooh.
So that's like, there's a spot in your shoulder that just goes that's what it affects, I guess, when you're.
Okay.
I was a weightlifter, but.
I can tell.
Yeah, can't you? But that's it felt exactly like half of my body went to the gym and just maxed out and everything.
Gotcha.
Max reps kind of thing.
Okay. So that was it.
That was it. But I did get really tired at 6:30 last night. It's I'm exhausted out of nowhere. So I took a shower and laid down for 30 minutes. And that was fine. And I staying and watching a movie.
Do we call you Whiskey Priest, or can we use your real name?
The Reverend?
You can call me whatever you would like.
I didn't know, I wanted to be protective of your identity if you wanted to be anonymous.
Oh, no, I don't need to be anonymous.
Okay, all right. So we're going to call him Father Tommy. Father Tommy, how are you been doing? How are you been doing?
I had the same experience. I had my second dose of the Pfizer.
Okay.
And like you said, I was exhausted out of nowhere. And
Was
that's
it a
happened a
long
few
time, or
times.
just like
Actually, every day since I've had it, and it was on Saturday.
interesting? Because
And
they hit me again on the way over here. And I've got a giant Starbucks cup next to me, but kind of took care of it. So
Right.
Well, I can tell you too, and Ryan will be able to tell you as well, as a member of Plus 300 Pound. That's normal for us. At about 3 o'clock, we just start getting wiped out. We're exhausted at that point. So I understand and feel that pain.
Yeah. See, we get the workout naturally.
it's called breathing, right?
Yeah, breathing, that's right. Just existing.
It's called trying to survive right now.
Yeah.
But you came up to the Concord area and this week, and buddy, we have had a great week, have we not?
A wonderful week. It's been a good vacation week.
Yeah, and so did you come up Monday or Tuesday?
I came up. When did I come up? I've had such a good time. I can't remember.
I think it was
Monday?
Tuesday. He's the crowd. We also have a crowd of folks too. So appreciate Chris and Josh and my wife. So hello everybody. I'm going to show you on the Facebook Lives. They've got a member of they've got some biscuit seats over there. So appreciate that. But he came up Tuesday, 11 o'clock. I'm working, and then all of a sudden he gets out of the truck and then starts throwing a smoker on my front porch, and then another tiny grill on there, and then within an hour it smells delicious in my office because my office is right by the front porch, and you started
that's the worst.
Yeah, you started smoking ribs, and like all day it's just like drool is coming out because I just smell beautiful meat coming from that smoker. And we ate so well. We had tell them what you've done.
So when I first arrived, and the name of the little guy is Jumbo Joe. He likes to be called Jumbo Joe and not the little grill.
Okay, sorry.
But we threw some chicken thighs on the Jumbo Joe, and while we were cooking the chicken thighs, we smoked some beef ribs, some of the short plate beef ribs, and that was about a 7-hour cook. So we were able to have that for dinner. And then after we took the beef ribs off, we had the fire going, so we just decided to throw about 11-pound pork butt on there.
Just had it laying around, right?
It just had it laying around.
Yeah.
And it was laying around up at that nice butcher shop you guys have.
The stock market?
Oh, okay. That's next to
the smoke pit, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great place. I need that in Philly. But so we put the pork butt on, and that was an 18-hour cook.
11 pounds is a lot.
It was.
Yeah.
We still have more if you want some.
Well, I'm sure you do, because that's like 25 people.
Yeah. It was great. But the star of the meal was the sides.
All right.
We had a salad, but not your everyday salad. It was a cornbread salad.
Cornbread salad.
That was killer.
Yeah, my wife has made some phenomenal sides. We've had cornbread salad. We've had broccoli salad. We had to get some stuff in to have the word salad in it to make us feel happy.
Yeah, so let's talk about cornbread salad.
Okay.
I've never.
Jess, do you want to come over and talk about the cornbread salad? We would really.
I'm just really curious how much greenery is in this salad.
Oh, there's zero.
Okay.
Zero salad. Zero.
It's like, I go up north once a year usually, and they have Jell-O salad, which is either some kind of Jell-O that they put fruit in,
right?
Or they literally put a piece of Jell-O on the lettuce.
Okay.
Isn't that like from the 50s and 60s?
It's from diners or I don't know.
Diners,
So I was just curious, and broccoli. There was actually broccoli
in the broccoli salad,
okay,
right? So there was that.
Right.
The cornbread salad. There's zero greenery. We've got cornbread.
Sounds good.
Keep me honest. Cornbread. There's a lot of cheese.
Okay.
There's beans.
That's good.
Like pinto beans. Yeah. Chili beans. There's a lot of bacon. What else? Corn.
And then ranch dressing.
And ranch dressing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's layered. And then you just get a big spoonful and
I need that.
be happy. Well, I mean, there's a ton of
maybe I will.
So you'll have some.
Okay.
So that's some mac and cheese. Josh made some amazing fries the other day, which they turned out fantastic. So appreciate that.
Truffle oil.
With truffle oil.
Oh, wow.
Some salt, some bacon grease. So, y'all, we've ate good this week. Not to mention the Whiskey Priest has brought a bunch of whiskey and bourbon. So it has been a good 2 nights. So What a great time we've had together. That's been my week.
Oh, is this like evangelism? Is that what we're saying here?
That's
Yes.
right. Whiskey evangelism.
We have talked about Jesus a lot and prayed to him sometimes. So, all right, so let's go to our Southern word of the week, which is doohickey. You guys heard the word doohickey before?
Oh, yeah. I think I used it a couple hours ago.
This is calling something a doohickey means you forget what the term actually is called. The word is synonymous with the phrase thingamajig and the what's it. Whatchamacallit,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I love that candy bar. The whatchamacallit candy bar.
Oh, that's a good candy bar,
That is
yes.
a solid candy bar.
Yes.
An example of doohickey is do me a favor and pass me that doohickey over there. So there's that. A couple of things I want to talk to you guys about. Have you guys heard about this ice road in Minnesota?
I think I've heard of this before. It's like a truck's running it down, right?
Well, here's
Logging or something.
no,
What I've seen is Canada, I think.
yeah. So that's Canada.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
what has
What's the
happened?
difference between Minnesota and Canada? Is there...
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
Okay. That's where you draw the line, I think.
Sure.
Okay.
So actually, the contiguous 48 states are not really contiguous. This is some breaking news here on Southern Fried Philosophy. You think, oh well, then you got Alaska, Hawaii, but that's not the case. Minnesota actually has a very little piece of it that's out in the lake, but you have to get to it via Canada or water, going out through the boats. It's 22 mile from one side to the other. And during COVID, because of the lockdown, people couldn't go through Canada and come back down. So they made an ice road going from, it's called the Northern Angle, all the way down to Minnesota. They were just using the ice, but it borders Manitoba, which you'll remember was the listener from last week.
That's
from
right.
Manitoba,
That's
Canada.
right.
Okay.
So, but here's the problem. It's getting warmer.
Mm-hmm.
So now this ice road is starting to thaw out, and there's residents, I want to say 3,000 residents, that are stranded on this island that can't go anywhere because they can't go into Canada and they can't come into the U.S. So they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. It's become like an issue for Minnesotites. I guess that's what you call them.
Minnesotans.
Minnesotans, yeah.
Is that the correct term? Is they don't know what to do. They're kind of stranded out there because of it.
Well, yeah, think about like grocery stores and
Right.
Any
Restaurants,
kind of
supplies, anything. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
Are they
crazy.
going to get? I mean, at some point, do they just become part of Canada? And that's it here.
You would think, why don't we just cut them off and just let them become Canadians?
Right?
You would think it'd just be easier for everybody.
Yeah. Why not?
But like school kids, like
give them dual citizenship, and that'll be the compromise.
just call them a day. But because they close the borders, they can't get out.
Wow.
I thought that was interesting. All right, so West Virginia. Anybody like West Virginia? You're a big fan of the West Virginia?
I lived there for a little while.
Okay. What part?
Morgantown.
Morgantown. Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, West Virginia does have at least one thing going for it.
What's
It's
that?
called Biscuit World.
Mm.
Biscuit World.
We
I
talked
am.
about Biscuit World.
Yeah. That's
And don't forget about pepperoni rolls.
Didn't Mojo stop there one time?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
yeah. Biscuit World's legit.
It is legit.
Yeah, they're like biscuits,
Cat head biscuits.
big biscuits,
Exactly.
and they're good. They're not like KFC biscuits. They're good biscuits.
Oh,
Or
good.
Chick-fil-A biscuits.
Yeah.
But West Virginia is in a handle because they can't get people to move. Everybody's moving out. Nobody's moving in. So what they've decided to do is start paying people to come that work from home. You can work from home. You can be anywhere.
Sure.
They're giving them $12,000 to come live in West Virginia as a tax break, and like all their recreational stuff, golf courses, their parks, all the stuff that they can do to be out and about is all free. You get to do it for free. So $12,000, it's like a package of $20,000 to pack up, move to West Virginia.
And one of the most beautiful states there is. I mean,
Well, besides all the,
Mountain Mama.
there you go.
The landscape is nice. It's a beautiful place. So drive through.
Right.
Hey, Brad Paisley's from West Virginia.
Why do you know
That's
that?
the reason.
Why do you know that?
Because I listen to country music.
Okay.
Back in the day, I don't know what listen to much anymore, but
So what would it take you all to pack up and move to West Virginia? How much money would it be? Like right now, right now, in essence, you work from home.
yeah.
You work from home.
Well, but I still have to be places sometimes.
Okay.
So.
Well, if you could get your same job and just relocate to West Virginia, how much money would it take?
Here's the problem for me personally. I mentioned I have in-laws in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I see.
So
what
West Virginia is halfway
Mhm.
to Pennsylvania, which makes me more accessible
Mhm.
to the folks from Pennsylvania.
Let's be clear. It makes your kids more accessible.
Well, sure. It
Right.
makes my airspace more accessible. So let's talk about moving to Georgia. That's one. Pay me to move there, maybe.
Okay, because that's further away.
It's further away. It's hotter. But,
Ooh, and the mosquitoes.
yeah.
You got to get above that gnat line.
Yeah.
So how much money? We're talking cash money. How much would it take?
Well, how much does it take to buy a new identity?
Well, now you're going to Mexico.
That's the number. No, if I could disappear legally and then move to West Virginia, I'd go for that.
Okay.
But
Well, you're not playing fairly. Magic Man, numbers wise, how much would it take?
That's a hard one because, like you said, I work from home.
Right.
Lori can do her soap business and everything from home,
Right.
it looks
which she's doing it.
Saying you better be able to ship, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I said ship.
Yeah, yeah. He did say ship. That's a good question. I've been through West Virginia on business trips, but that's just driving through. That's not actually stopping.
Right.
half hours driving through West Virginia to get to Pennsylvania.
All right. Well, just on the
There's
other
a lot of
side,
it.
how long does it take to get just to West Virginia? It's like 2. Oh, Josh is giving me 3, 3.5. Do I hear 4? 4. Do I hear 4.5? 5. 5. Do I hear 1?
I've gone skiing in West Virginia. Like I've left at 5 in the morning to go skiing. I've been there at 7 or 8 o'clock. So you can get there in 3 hours.
So 3. So it'll add 3
Right
more
across,
hours.
I think the Bluefield maybe, is that the town? I can't remember the name of the town.
So for 3 additional hours, I'm going to ask my wife. For 3 additional hours, would we get paid $750,000? Would you be okay with that?
How long do you have to stay?
As long as you want. Like if you just want to go for a year or 2 years or 3, but it would $750,000 a year do it.
A year.
Chris is saying
Heather's
yes.
saying yes.
All right, so everybody's saying yes. So for me, it's Father Tom.
I like West Virginia.
All right, so the
I've
20
lived there
grand
and
is
I would-
okay for you.
Yeah, I would do it.
Okay.
He lived there for free, so that's
It's gorgeous.
Sounds an additional 20. So right now, if you go online, there's 50 applicants right now that they're willing to do for a thing.
I don't think I would be allowed to do it. That's
No, I
it's
mean,
not, it's not me. It's not that way.
Okay, we're gonna play around. I understand how this works.
Hey, we have a live stream viewer,
Okay.
Yvonne Demar, saying, "Yo, is that a ligma in the background?
Oh, what?
A ligma."
They're seeing Lagan?
Lagavulin?
I
Lagavulin?
know they said Ligma.
Huh, I've never heard of that.
LIGMA.
Maybe she can tell what color is the bottle.
Oh, you're talking about the whiskey. That's the place.
That sounds like a country song.
Yeah.
Is that the whiskey, or are you telling about something else? All right, so we're gonna go to the next one, and then if she can describe which one we're supposed to be looking at, then we'll discuss it.
All right. So Yvonne, let us know which one you're looking at, and
There you
we'll
go.
see what we can do for you.
So you guys watch bowling at all? You guys bowling watchers?
Well, there's a certain time of year.
Right.
Typically, it's right after football.
Right.
You go after church, you go to a restaurant or something. This is
A buffet. Yeah.
For me, it was. I think I remember watching it like the Arabic restaurant or something. But like
Okay.
it's like ESPN
Okay.
plays. This is what you get
Right.
after football. It's
Right.
whatever you can find.
Sure.
It's like the Ocho.
The Ocho. For cornhole and like frisbee golf.
That's when it's like 1:00 in the afternoon on Sundays when bowling comes on.
Right.
I've watched the movie Kingpin.
Okay.
Does that
They're
count?
No.
Way too
Oh,
good.
okay.
Oh, that stink.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. Father Tommy, you like the bowling? You like
I
watching?
like playing bowling.
Yeah.
I don't like watching. Maybe if I want to go to sleep.
Right. I think there's 3 categories. Like sports. Well, let's see if we can do how many. So sports that I would watch but never play. Okay. So like bobsledding. Like I would I like to watch that, but I'd never do that.
It's fun.
Yeah, but I'd probably kill. I'd kill a small woodland creature. So sports that I would watch but never do. Sports that I would do but I would never watch. Right, like bowling for me. Like I like to bowl, but I don't want to watch it.
It's not a spectator
Right.
sport.
Right. Yeah.
You're not walking around with like your favorite bowler's hat on, right?
Right. Yeah. You're not wearing like the
jersey,
the bowling jersey.
shoes.
Yeah.
Is there a Jordans like? Is there like Air Jordans for bowlers? Like,
I'm sure there is.
Right.
They got the special gloves and whatnot.
Does it come with a can of that spray they put in the shoes when you bet? Like, it's not gonna
Yeah, yeah. And there's like sports that I like to watch and like to play, right? So basketball, football, what have you. But bowling is one of those that I don't want to watch. But people have gotten very excited. There's a bowler, a high school bowler, and his nickname is the Ginger Assassin.
Oh wow.
The Ginger Assassin, and we're gonna play the clip. But this guy, I've never heard an announcer, almost in any sport, get so excited about what just happened. And to preface it a little bit, he bowls, he gets a 7-10 split, and evidently the only time that anybody's ever made a 7-10 split on television has only happened 3 times, ever. So that the 7-10s, the ones.
I think I've done it at least twice on Wii Bowl.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Good job.
We'll figure that out. So
Yeah.
how hard can it be?
If I can do it on Wii Bowling, it
Right.
clearly isn't that hard. So the Ginger Assassin comes up, and we're going to go ahead and play the clip. Yeah, I would agree.
That guy's got quite the mullet right there too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here it comes.
Oh, so the music. Fair of the game.
The
that's famous.
spare of the game. You.
Wow. All right.
Oh my gosh. You got it, kid. You got it. Oh, that's great. I would love my life to be narrated by that guy. Like, you just got off the toilet. You did it, kid. You did it.
So we show how it's not the most exciting thing to watch.
Right.
So that's like the most exciting thing that can happen. I see strikes all the time.
Right.
I'm bowling. That's what I want.
Right.
If I get 2 strikes in a row, it's like, oh man, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm running around like a champion.
This is like it's a spare. It's not even worth any extra points. Like it has. It's he's not can't win. But I mean,
I don't know the rules of
as
scoring.
professional bowling, if you're not getting strikes on every frame, you might as well go home. Right?
That's
Keep in
right.
mind, this is high school, so I'm sure they probably weren't always,
Okay.
you know,
They're working on
hit,
that.
they're working on it. So anyway, his excitement pumped me up. Like, now I want to go out there and bowl. So there's that. All right, so let's go to the moment you all have been waiting for. The Chicken Madness Round 6 presented by Red Hill Brewing. Woo! We have some music.
Oh, yes, we do.
Come on, bring it. We have not been asked by the NCAA to not use this so far, so we're almost out of in the clear of this thing.
It's
So,
like free publicity or something.
Bojangles versus KFC is the matchup for the night. Just to recap, we have done a March Madness chicken bracket. We've gotten Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Zaxby's, KFC, McDonald's, Arby's, and Wendy's, and Bojangles. Popeyes has been knocked out. McDonald's, Arby's, Wendy's have all been knocked out. Even the Chick-fil-A, which we thought were going to win. That was the biggest upset.
That was an upset last week, yeah. That's
I
right.
do want to follow back up with that one. Producer Brian, you gave a pretty hard score for the Zaxby's chicken.
This was one of the, like I'm going to get two at a time, typically.
Right.
And for whatever reason, actually, I think my wife picked these up. I think Zaxby's got picked up first.
Okay.
So it was cold. It was cold.
Okay.
Which I think just didn't hold up.
Okay.
And it's just one of those, sometimes the people just don't care when they're making stuff, right? So I think it's what it came down to, which sandwich got hit first,
Okay. All right. Well, but alas, Zaxby's did take down the KFC. So tonight we are going Bojangles versus KFC. So go ahead and initiate the rules.
All right. So we have arbitrary point system here. 5 points for presentation, 5 points for bread, 5 points for sauce, 5 points for toppings. Chicken's worth 10 points for a total of 30 points per judge. So we can have a grand total of 90, which no one has come anywhere near yet. From the scoring.
Not even close.
Yeah. So, so we're just going to start with the low seed, as usual here.
Yep.
KFC.
Is the low seed.
Do we need to describe, they're low seed. Do we need to describe it anymore?
Well, again,
go back 2 weeks and listen.
Go back 2 weeks and listen. There you go. All right.
So big in presentation-wise, you gave it a 4. I gave it a 3, and Match Man gave it a 4. Mine, this is in the bag. Mine looked like they threw it around a little bit.
Okay.
Like they were playing basketball.
Oh.
And then it was like squished a little bit. Yeah, not great. Yeah, that didn't help.
No.
So and I think I'll go back. The presentation on the KFC. Yeah, I gave it a 4 last time. So again, the restaurant. Phoning it in a little bit.
Messed it up. There's a fumble on the play by the team.
Yeah, so I think consistency from restaurant to restaurant is kind of important here as well.
Yeah.
Bread. So moving on bread real quick with 5 points. Bacon gave it 3.5. I gave it a 4, and Magic Man gave it a 5.
Whoa! Come on.
Wow.
Any reason for that one?
Bread.
And then this is the KFC is just a regular bun, a butter bun.
I don't think it's anything special. Yeah. It's just,
he loved his bread.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hell yeah, brother.
Sauce. So here we go. This is I believe mayonnaise is the sauce we're getting here.
Right. Yeah.
Got 2.5 from Biggin, 3 from myself, and 2 from Match Man.
Ooh.
So this is what they really like, the mayonnaise at KFC.
See, I didn't get a ton of mayonnaise. Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like if we measure in packets, mayonnaise packets, there had to be at least 2.
Wow. I had maybe like a half packet.
Oh wow.
So
That would I think be better for me. I don't like it.
Okay.
I get 2.5, 3, and 2 there on the mayo. It's mayonnaise. Come on, right? Toppings. This is pickles. Biggie gave it 3. I gave it 3. And, I think sticking with his theme, Matthew Man gave it a 2.
For each pickle.
Pickle, yep.
Yep. Y'all know me too well.
You love the pickles.
And then the main event is the chicken.
Yeah.
Biggin gave it an 8.
Yep.
It's pretty high.
It's a high score.
I gave it a 7.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Lower than I thought.
Yeah, it was a touch greasy maybe.
Huh.
And then again, you guys must have had the same sandwich from the same restaurant.
We probably did.
And the 8
Yeah.
again from Match Man. So it comes out to 21 for Biggin total, 20 for myself, and 21 for Magic Man for a grand total of 62 points.
62 points for KFC.
Which, for the record, is higher than Chick-fil-A scored last week.
Wow.
That's sad.
That's interesting.
All right, Chick-fil-A, come on. Come
Yeah,
on.
and going back to my experience with Zaxby's, I think next year we need to do a day-old chicken sandwich challenge. Like, just let it sit on the counter for a day and then see who holds up.
That's a great, yeah.
What's going to be the best cold chicken sandwich, right? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Who else is doing that?
Nobody. So we'll do it each day, or like next year or 2 years.
Yeah.
So we'll do 2 days. Yeah.
Just keep backing it up. And eventually, the McDonald's sandwich will look the same.
Right.
That's how it works, doesn't it?
Right? They're going to get points for that.
Yeah.
Like,
Moving on to Bojangles. Presentation, 4.5 from Biggin, 4 from myself, 4 from Magic Man. This one comes in the box.
it does. That stood out.
Yeah, I think helps a lot. Maybe it doesn't stay warm as long, but it definitely looks nice.
That's a good call.
Bread, 4 from Biggin, 3 from myself, and 5 from Magic Man. I'd really struggle on the bread.
It was a nice Kaiser bun. I like that. Had some little seeds on top.
Yep.
It was good.
Mine was a touch stale, though. Like, it was a little drier than
Okay.
the last one. I remember really liking the bread. This one was like
Those Taylor.
the bag had been open longer or something. I don't know. I'm getting super picky here, but
That's what we got to do for our listeners.
that's right.
We owe it to 'em.
Slightly better than the KFC bun.
Okay. All right. Let's
For
move
me,
on.
Anyway, sauce again, maybe less mayonnaise. 2.5. Big and same score. This is almost identical. 3 for myself, and you gave an extra point for mayonnaise, Benjamin. So,
Boy.
Damn.
You like the mayo now, huh?
Not so much.
it's a slightly different color too. I'm not sure.
It was.
It
Yeah.
looked a little different.
That may or may not be a good thing.
Toppings. So Bojangles, see 3 from you from Biggin, 4 from myself, and 2 from Magic Man. For whatever reason, the lettuce tomato plays real nicely with that breading. I think I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like-
I agree.
But maybe because of the spicy, but it like balances
Yeah.
it out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not just all salty mayonnaise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's where over there. And then chicken wise,
Here we go.
6 from Biggin, 6 from myself, and 8 from Magic Man. So those aren't high chicken scores.
No. They weren't.
Because I think I figured out when I'm filming. I like the breading at Bojangles. That's what it comes down to. There's not a lot of chicken in there,
It's still so thin.
but I like that. Just give me the batter. Like batter anything with that,
Right.
I'm gonna love it.
Right. Okay. So what's the grand
Okay,
total?
grand total 20 from Biggin, 20 from myself, and 22 from Magic Man. So if you're keeping score at home, you're probably not. But
If you were.
that is a tie. 62.
6.
Oh, wow.
So we're in the final 4. The winner of this goes on to the big dance, and it's tied.
We are now going to overtime. Bojangles hit the buzzer beater
Mm-hmm.
at the end. We have to go to a tie score.
So it's day old chicken sandwich, right? That's the we need to get it again and
Here's-
day, right?
Well, luckily, I was smart enough to say, Father Tommy's going to be here. I'm going to cut the chicken sandwiches in half, and he's gonna try them.
Tiebreaker.
So I thought for sure
Smart
three
man.
people we would never have a tie.
You would think so, but it
just math.
perfectly came down.
Math beating
came out
again. Yeah.
to that. So, Father Tommy, you had both sandwiches,
I did.
and you enjoyed the Bojangles sandwich.
It was great.
You enjoyed the KFC sandwich.
It was great.
We're not going to go through all the numbers, but here's the last shot. 3, 2, 1. You tell us who has won the bracket.
KFC.
That's all.
Wow. KFC, Zaxby's now at the final dance. The
Oh, wow.
championship game.
I didn't see that coming.
I did. Well, not early on. After eating
Yeah.
the sandwich.
Yeah.
That feeling.
Yeah. So I'm excited for next week. I will be glad when all the chicken sandwiches are done.
Yeah. So I listened to last week. You guys are both getting tired of chicken sandwiches.
Yeah. We're kind of getting
That's probably one of the reasons why I've gained. I joined the 300 club.
You're going to blame it on the show.
So
Yeah.
you guys.
This is the show's fault.
I've actually had extra chicken sandwiches in the last week.
What?
So I was traveling. So
Okay.
I think it was, what day was it? It was Saturday, maybe, on the way home. I stopped at Zaxby's. And I got this spicy. So I wanted to try them all.
Try the
So I got
spicy.
spicy.
They're not Pokemon. You realize that, right? You don't have to try them all.
I'm a collector. I collect everything. I'm a collector. You know, whatever it is, I like to collect things.
Sure.
Producer Brian, when you were on vacation, didn't you say you were out fly fishing and eating a chicken sandwich while you were fly fishing?
No, I was fly fishing. No.
Oh, okay.
I was taking work calls while I was in the street.
Oh, that's right.
I got,
okay.
I searched I was out with my dad. We looked for an hour for a right trout stream. And I walk out. I got my waders on. I'm about to step in the water. My phone rings. I look at it. This is not a send a voicemail client. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, but it was fine.
That
But
shows your
I'm just
dedication.
like looking around, going, "This is a great place. It's a great office right now." They didn't need
Yeah.
anything. It was good. But on the way back, I got the spicy Zaxby sandwich.
Okay.
And the spicy sauce, it's basically like buffalo sauce, a little bit buffalo sauce. That's how I would describe that.
Okay.
It was good. I did like it. And then Monday, I just happened to be getting chicken sandwich. I don't know why. It did it.
Okay.
I ordered. I think I got a DoorDash actually, but
It's even worse.
I have a good reason, sure. But I got the spicy KFC.
Okay.
It was almost a good sandwich.
Oh no.
So the sauce on that one it's a little too hot. Like I think it's almost that like super peppery. Like it could be good. It's got the elements like a creamy like spicy mayo kind of.
Okay.
It went a little overboard on the heat.
Wow.
It's just a touch. So you lose the flavor because you're getting. And I like spicy.
Yeah.
And it was. I won't say it was too spicy for my taste buds, but it killed the flavor of the sandwich.
Huh.
It was just a little.
Just a tish.
So that's my.
So we're sick of chicken sandwiches, and you're just getting more of them.
Yeah, I almost ordered a different one at a different restaurant.
Well, listen. Soon you'll be adding at the 300-pound at the Fat Five Fat.
Oh yeah,
So
I gotta get back there.
We need to figure out an initiation for.
oh, it's just eating donuts. This is really
Hey,
it.
that's a good initiation.
That's pretty much it. So
Yeah.
next week, Zaxby's versus KFC. That'll be the game winner,
Mm-hmm.
the final game of that one. So then help us understand or tell us what bracket you would like to see next. We'll have a little bit of a break between brackets, but let us know. Send us email or tweets or whatever you want. Just let us know what bracket you would like, and we'll try to figure it
We
out.
could turn anything into a bracket.
Anything into a bracket.
I found the software for that. So
That's right. That's because you're producer Brian.
that's right.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and go to our main event. Father Tommy, thank you for coming on the Southern Fried Philosophy Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor.
We have a mutual friend, Chris Abney from Red Hill Brewing Company. Again, sponsor of the Chicken March Madness Round 6. And we got together just by hanging out, having some whiskey, having some bourbon, and we have become very close. And I consider you a friend and a brother. But I want to know your story. You're a whiskey priest. Which came first? Whiskey or priest?
Well, really, you could say, well, whiskey. Whiskey would have to come first. So the whiskey came first in that it was first abused.
Okay.
And it wasn't appreciated. And this was in my late teenage years, really. And then when faith found me, when Jesus found me, I gave up all alcohol for 10 years at least. And it was after about 10 years that I started, I was introduced to whiskey in a way that I appreciated it. And so that's why I say whiskey first.
Nice. So whiskey first, priest second. Where are you a priest now?
I am currently a priest in the Episcopal Church, and I am at Washington Memorial Chapel at Valley Forge in Pennsylvania.
Y'all.
So
I'm a history buff, and that's pretty darn cool.
it's an awesome place.
I used to be a Revolutionary War reenactor
Oh, cool.
here in North
Well,
Carolina.
come and see us. We'll put you to work.
I'm just going to go out on a limb. I don't think that uniform fits anymore.
No, considering I had it back when I was a teen in my 20s. Yeah.
None of our clothes fit
That's right.
for any of us. So tell us how cool that is. We've seen pictures of your church. Can we post a link on the
Absolutely.
show notes of it? Just because you guys have to see how beautiful it is and the grounds and everything else. How cool is it to be there?
It is. I mean, there's about 43 acres actually. When a lot of people see the chapel as they're walking through the trails there, because there are a lot of trails, a lot of things to do in the park. And those 43 acres are actually privately owned. They're not part of the park itself.
Huh.
And that was all back when Father Burke, which is the founder of the chapel, he raised the money all over the country, people sending pennies at a time. And so it really became a national shrine for George Washington, paid for by patriots of this country.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, that brings me chills every time that I'm there, just knowing how much people cherish that piece of our history and the way that we get to honor that piece of our history each and every day. And so it's a really cool thing. So yeah, I absolutely adore being there. And there were actually, if you walk back in the woods, there's a foundation stone. There were actually originally plans, and then something called the Great Depression happened. But there were plans for a huge cathedral there, and this would be the Wayside Chapel. So if you're ever there, just imagine what that would look like. I mean, this is already this glorious space with one of the world's best carillon towers. And so we do carillon concerts there too.
So for those that don't know what that is, can you explain?
That is a tower that has, and our carillionaire would not be happy, so I'm not, if I got it wrong, so I won't try to describe the bells, but they're various size bells. And it's almost like the hammer motion when you're playing this instrument, and the strings ring the bells. Some of these are humongous, and some of them are small. And they play all kinds of classical pieces, church music, depending on the audience, and it's really cool. Our carillionaire goes all over the world to play. We have people. I think we've got someone from Switzerland coming in this year, and we offer these concerts. People bring their lawn chairs and their wine or their whiskey, whatever they want, their Red Hill beer, and they sit on the lawn and enjoy the music. So it's really cool.
So it's a tower that people, somebody will go up there and actually play these bells.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I'm looking at pictures of the property here.
Yeah.
Where's the gold hidden? Has anyone come around looking for clues, like for Revolutionary War, like hidden gold?
We actually, if you go, whenever you come, because I think you will, I'll take you inside. We actually have in glass cases many things that were actually found by people with metal detectors and so forth. And so, yeah, it's really cool. A lot of cool stuff's been found, and there's probably a lot more to be found here on this.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So, how has that changed and impacted, like just becoming the priest? Let me go back. What's the process of becoming a priest? And if you feel comfortable, what drove you to become a priest?
Wow. So
Easy question.
I'll start with. I think the process of becoming a ordained minister, I'll say, because I think it's similar regardless of which tradition you're in.
Okay.
It's usually, I would say, multifaceted, because it's not just that someone receives a call from God. It always starts from a call.
With a call from God.
A call from God. It's a vocation, not a job you choose. It's something that chooses you.
Right.
And I think
Absolutely.
that's maybe the difference between a job and a career and a vocation. It's a true calling. You know, people are called to be nurses. You don't just decide to do that unless you're equipped for it. But that call is usually confirmed by the body of Christ. You know, it's people that see and witness to the work that God's doing in your life, and they say, you know, I think you have a call. And usually there's a fight. You know, for me, it was, I don't know about this. It's kind of like Jonah. I'm going to, do anything I can, including being swallowed by a great big fish to get away from it. And the people of God see it, and we think there's something there. And there's usually a struggle. I would be suspicious of anyone who volunteered to do it and did it with, eagerness and it wasn't confirmed by the people of God. I think it needs to be kind of all of that together. And I think that's usually the story you hear that's consistent among many priests and pastors and ministers, whatever they're called, and there's particular traditions. So
I forgot who said it, but I think it was anybody who wants this job shouldn't have it.
that's right.
And so it's
That's
kind of
right.
like that same issue. I have a ton of pastor friends that I see constantly getting burnt out because of the church and things like that.
Right.
How long have you been a priest?
I have been a priest in the Episcopal Church for almost 5 years.
Okay.
And I have been in ministry of some sort. I've been in 3 traditions. I've switched a couple times
Okay.
for around 20 years.
You got a different contract, a different team.
That's right.
So you went
That's
that
right.
route.
Yes.
Okay, so you've been doing this totally for 20 years.
I've been in ministry for 20 years, yes.
Just between us, which one did you like the best?
The one I'm in now.
Okay. What's a typical day for you, man? Like,
Oh, my.
what's a normal day?
A normal day begins with prayer. I begin each day with morning prayer. In the Episcopal Church, we have something you call the daily office. There are certain hours. It's really rooted in the Christian tradition. There's been as many as 7 or 8, depending on the tradition you're in, times a day that you stop to pray. And hours are condensed down to morning, midday, evening, and before bed.
Okay.
And that's a good way to kind of structure your day. Because it keeps everything in focus. Otherwise, you take yourself a bit too seriously. But
Sure.
it begins with prayer. I usually will try to have on certain days a week a little study time, sermon prep, because once that's over, I have a staff right now of 12. Lots of meetings, to 43 acres and a few buildings, and a lot of stuff for administration takes up a lot of my day. So I have to really schedule time for sermon prep and liturgy prep. Morning prayer daily at the church, midweek mass throughout the week, and mass on certain occasions. And of course, on the weekend, we have a 5 p.m. Mass and then 2 on Sunday. So
Good night.
yeah, it's a busy but wonderful place. So
Now, your morning prayers, your daily morning prayers, you do those online, right?
actually, all of those things that I mentioned, we do
Okay.
online.
Okay.
Yes.
Very cool. So if you ever want to just tune in, they can do that, right?
That's
They go-
right.
How do they do that?
Just Facebook, and then you go to WM Chapel for Washington Memorial Chapel, WM Chapel, and then just be there at 9 o'clock Monday through Thursday, 5 o'clock Saturday, 8 and 10 on Sunday, or just hit the live button if you want to really be there. But it's going to pop up if you're there. So
Cool.
Yeah.
How has Christ changed your life? I know this is going to be deep and it's going to be long.
Yeah.
But what's the before and after? We see the pictures on Facebook, like here's how it started, here's how it ended.
Right.
Tell us that story.
Yeah, that was when I was 18 years old. I graduated high school with very little direction, no idea where I was going, so I just followed in my dad's footsteps, and he's an electrician. And so I was in the IBEW in Nashville, Tennessee, learning how to be an electrician. I'd done that with my dad my entire life, so it just seemed natural that that's what I should do. And God has a real cool way of working, because the first job I ended up, or the first company that I worked for in the union, I was assigned to a job, and my boss was someone I met when I was 14 years old. He worked for my dad.
Oh, wow.
And I remembered him because he was different than your kind of stereotypical construction worker, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
He didn't participate in the jokes. He was more serious, more joyful. And I found out that he had just had a conversion experience. He had just accepted Jesus as his Savior, and he made an impact on me as a 14-year-old. Fast forward all that time, this guy's now my boss. I hadn't seen him since, and it was the same kind of thing. I mean, I was this fiery, troublemaking kid that just, wanted to push his buttons because I knew he was different.
Oh, wow.
And it never got to him. He found out that I was playing guitar, and he invited me to a church. And to make a long story short, I went to the church. I heard the gospel for the first time. It was the story from Luke chapter 15 about the prodigal son being welcomed by the father. And I was undone. And I wanted that, and I didn't know how. And so I went to my best friend. It was kind of funny because I was asking him all these questions about salvation. How does it work? And he called up his grandma. And so she said, "You ought to come to church with me tomorrow." And my salvation story begins in a Baptist church. I'm now in the Episcopal church.
That's quite a swing, my friend.
Yeah.
And so there, Roy Fisher, a British Baptist preacher in Donaldson, Tennessee, and you're just outside of Nashville, it's almost like he was listening in on me and my friend's conversation. All of my questions, they weren't answered necessarily, but light was shown on them, if you will. I mean, it was just epiphany after epiphany, and they did what Baptists do. He preached the gospel about Jesus' death and resurrection as the only way out of this life that I'm in, and the good news of eternal life. And I was a shaken, crying mess in that pew. And my friend, he just elbowed me. He's like, man, you got to go. And I got up and I went. And for me, it was that moment. My life's never been different. Definitely not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but changed my life saying yes to Jesus. And so I was baptized the next weekend there, and that's how it started. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What a great story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
We have had numerous conversations at this table, if you're watching on Facebook Live, and they have inspired me. They've changed a lot of my perspective on faith, speaking with you in a good way. You really have helped me understand the gospel even deeper. So I just appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, do you guys have any questions? Can we move on at this point?
How old is that, Carolyn?
Ooh, I believe the daughters. We have one of the coolest things about the chapel is we have a lot of heritage, lineage, kind of hereditary foundations, sons of the American Revolution's daughters, and the daughters are the ones that actually donated for that to be built. And I believe, really hope I don't get this wrong, somewhere around 1952, 1953, I believe. I've been the rector of the chapel for 5 months.
Yeah. It's
So if you want to know, go and ask one of my docents. They can tell you the actual dates. I'm learning. I'm still in training when it comes to all the history of the chapel. But it's from in the 50s, and so it's been there ever since. And we're constantly making upgrades to it. And now it's he's got his own studio up there. It's really cool if you go and you get to go up in it. I'll make sure you guys get to go up in it. Be ready. Don't eat chicken before. long way up.
There's no elevator?
But you go halfway, and that's his studio. Well, you notice when you get to the studio, there's a grand piano in the studio of this tower. How did he get there? And then you start walking, and you feel, oh, this is interesting. Well, it's like a trap door. The door opens, and there's a pulley that goes down, and that's how it was raised up into that almost halfway up to this tall tower. And then he's almost all the way, not quite at the top, but he's almost there. And he's got an air-conditioned and heated little room where he plays on the console itself. It's really cool. So,
if you can get a grand piano up there without stairs, you can get us up there.
See, we can just hook you to the pulley. By your belt loops.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when he plays, has the little handles that stick out, and
Right. You kind of do it like
That's
this.
right.
Like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, that's right. I've watched some YouTube videos from
Yes.
places that have Carolyn's, and
It's really impressive when you watch them. And what's cool is when we do concerts, we actually video tape him playing, and that's projected outside where people are sitting, so you can actually see what his hands are doing. I believe his feet, too, almost like an organ. I think they're doing something, too, but I can't remember.
Wow. That's really cool.
That is.
How do you keep something like that going? Like, you would think there'd be structural issues and all that kind of stuff. Is somebody going around the grounds and just fixing things up?
We have just the whole chapel itself.
Right.
Well, that's, we have people on staff. I have a property manager, cemetery manager, others that assist on the property itself, and volunteers. I mean, we're all about volunteers there. We've got, I would say, close to 100 volunteers just from our parish that help, whether it be on the cemetery. I had a couple show up the other day for morning prayer, and right after they went to cut limbs and take care of tree issues, and his wife went into the cabin shop and helped. We make these famous Easter eggs, chocolate covered in peanut butter and cream, and they're amazing. They sell out every year. We can't make enough. Usually around 700 pounds, I think, of these tiny little eggs. And so she went to help do that. So it's volunteers and staff. Without that, it's a lot of work.
I don't see that you brought any of those with you, so I'm a little sad on that.
I didn't get to buy any, but fortunately, on Easter morning, someone put some in my mailbox.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I ate them. So you can't save them.
Absolutely. How do you? All right, let's transition to the whiskey.
Okay, that's always a welcome. So
When did that?
should I make another pour?
I mean, go ahead. Well, we're talking about it. You go ahead and get some. Ryan, you gotta get Ryan signed.
What's Ryan like?
Ryan likes Pepsi.
Beer.
Yeah, that's probably
Probably this is gonna,
right there.
we're gonna go with a 1792.
That's pretty.
Thank you,
Well,
sir.
that's pretty easy sipper right there.
There we go.
Thank you, sir.
So, at what point?
The crowd would like you to pass that on.
Come over here.
Instead of T-shirts, we're throwing whiskey to the crowd.
We got
Yeah. So what you said
that or something else.
you started experiencing.
Cheers, folks.
What do you want?
You want the scotch? The
Lagavulin, of course.
Did she ever respond? Which one we're supposed to talk about?
Nope,
Anybody in the
nothing
chat?
yet.
You said you came back and you started to appreciate it.
Right. So, and this is a great story, and these are still great friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was pastoring this Methodist church in Parksley, Virginia, on the eastern shore of Virginia, and a lot of people don't know that Virginia has a peninsula that sticks down from the Delmarva Peninsula, and you actually have to go over about 12 miles of ocean to get there. From Virginia.
It's not in Minnesota, is it?
No, it's
They're
not.
nice, right?
But there is a similar island in Virginia called oh, come on, I'm forgetting it.
Isn't the bridge tunnel?
That's the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking, it'll come to me. The little island of about 400 people that live in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, I know that.
It's awesome. I've taken ferry over there, and some of the best food you're going to eat. Oysters, crab cakes.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh. Home style. Oh, come on. My wife has whispered to me, but she's not here. I'll think of it here in a minute. But it's cool, that little, anyway. But while I was there, I had just recently started being okay with drinking again. You know, I had a friend introduce me to craft beer, and I really enjoyed microbrews and things like that. And one of my parishioners found out this. I was still kind of hush-hush. I didn't want people to know because I didn't want them to interpret the wrong way. But he asked me, he said, well, at that time I wasn't father, I was pastor. And he said, Pastor, do you enjoy wine? I said, oh, no, I don't like wine. And he said, well, I see that you drink more than like a Michelob here. You know, you like your beer. I think you've got a palate. Maybe you would enjoy wine.
Uh-huh.
He said, what have you had? And that's when I revealed to him that I had never really drank wine. Because I said, oh, Yellowtail? You know, he said,
That's good stuff.
you need to come to my house. And so he took the time, and this is the reason I like to do this, is because he did that for me. He took the time to go into his cellar, find something, you know, it wasn't going to be some, you know, Grand Cru Burgundy or First Growth Bordeaux or anything like that. But he went in and found a great whiskey that he picked up when he was in California. It was Rosenblum, Rockpile Creek Vineyards, Zinfandel. It was at peak. It had aged just long enough. He poured that into my glass, and I swirled it as he taught me, and I took the nose and almost cried. And I did cry, I think, when I actually sipped it.
Wow.
Was that
and
good, huh?
That began a love affair with wine, and that's where it
Wow.
started for me. So he would call me over and it was quotations, hey, I need Bible study. And that meant that he was going to introduce me to another fine beverage. And so I would go, and we would have, he was just so kind. And if Russ, Carey, Williams, you ever listen, I thank you. They're great friends, and I appreciate them. He opened everything from great Bordeaux to vintage ports with me, and so it wasn't long. He's like, so what do you think about Scotch? Oh, you know, I'm from Tennessee, Kentucky area, and I'm a bourbon boy. You know, if I'm going to drink something, it's going to be bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me my first Scotch, and that's what really began that love affair and really getting. But for a while, it was more the wine. But after a while, I found that my wife only drinks white wine.
Hmm.
I love white wine, but I'm more of a red wine kind of guy, and I'm pairing it with all these meats that I cook and things. So it became easier for me to open a bottle of whiskey because I could just have a pour,
Right.
close it back, and it's going to be fine tomorrow. I always felt like if you open a bottle of good wine, you really need people to help you finish it, or it's going to be on you.
Right.
So And so, it's really there. He
Yeah.
really taught me how to nose and how to taste. And of course, that carried over to whiskey. And as over the years, I've just grown a great appreciation for it. And being in Philadelphia now, I'm in the Philadelphia Whiskey Society.
Mm-hmm.
And there I've been introduced to people who know more about whiskey than I'll ever learn. And it's just opened the world even more. And so it's just something I truly enjoy.
I think what's difficult for Baptists, I'm a former recovering Baptist.
Me too.
All right.
Wow.
Okay.
That's why we get along, huh?
There it is.
There it is.
Is the idea that it's evil to drink, or it's alcohol is from the devil, right?
Yeah.
Like you come back from that background. How do you tell others like this is okay? It's not a sin. It's not a bad thing. Like we enjoy the bourbon, or we enjoy the alcohol.
Well, I think too much of a good thing can become a bad thing, and that's not just with alcohol. I think a lot of this comes from, we dealt with prohibition here in a way that a lot of countries in this world didn't. I mean, if you're living in somewhere like Italy or France, you're 12 years old at the table, you're likely going to get a little bit of wine.
Absolutely.
It's just not happening in Southern Baptist families in the South, especially. And so I think there is that kind of a very American prohibition kind of engendered taboo that comes with alcohol. But it doesn't in some of those same communities with eating some terrible foods that are probably killing you faster than the little bit of alcohol you might be consuming. So that kind of logic, just naming it that way. And of course, we can go throughout Scripture. I actually did a study with my last parish on wine. We did a survey of what does the Bible say about wine from beginning to end. It was amazing. The positive way that wine is lifted up in Scripture. And of course, it ends up becoming that which our Lord chooses to be that which becomes for us the body and blood of our Lord. And so it's a very precious thing in Scripture. And so, but it can be abused, and Scripture talks about that too, as most things. And so that's what I do with it. Is that anything can be abused, and Paul addresses it too when we shouldn't get too proud of ourselves for being able to enjoy it when there are people that Paul would call weaker believers among us. And so be careful, and so I think that's kind of the way I usually would address it. But around Episcopalians, I don't have to address it.
Yeah. So you just switched teams so you could drink. I understand.
So tell me about conversion.
Oh, yeah. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm going to try to tell this, and I don't want to take up all the talk time. But
you're the guest. That's
you're here for that.
I began my Christian journey because someone invited me to church, right? And I learned a lot by going there. And he actually, the piece I didn't tell is he wasn't a Baptist. Remember, that was my friend who called up his grandma. That was the Baptist connection. That didn't last long because he was a Nazarene, the Church of the Nazarene. And to make a long, so I'm in the Church of the Nazarene. I'm learning about Nazarene history, which goes back to John Wesley, really, and Charles Wesley, and the Wesleyan movement that created Methodism in this country. And in the late 1800s, early 1900s, a lot of churches were coming out of these mainstream churches for various reasons. Social justice reasons, holiness, all that kind of stuff. And so Methodism was kind of like the mother church of that. Well, Methodism came out of Anglicanism, which is what we are as Episcopalians. So now you can see by thinking about that journey, someone that's going to school to study theology, church history, you start learning about your tradition, and you found, we owe our beginnings to people like John Wesley. Well, John Wesley was a priest in the Church of England until the day he died, and his brother Charles. They became my heroes. Well, then I started they never left. And so I started really thinking, what would it be like to experience this? So I went to a couple Episcopal church, one being Christ Church Cathedral in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a great place with a wonderful organ, wonderful choir, and just great parishioners. And it was the liturgy of the church, the traditional liturgy that's passed the test of time, that's been nurtured and handed on and by the faithful people of God, and that made me want more. And it was just being in awe of this liturgy that's centered on not entertaining me, but the revelation of God in Jesus Christ. And that's what liturgy does. It's God's work for the people. It's always centering on what has God done for the salvation of the world. And that just blew me away. From the chanting, offering the incense, the sacramentality of it all, the vestments, just really offering our very best for the God who created and redeemed us. And I wanted more, but it had to be a secret for me for a while because my wife, who I met in college at a Nazarene university, she was cradle Nazarene. And so she didn't want to leave. She was taught, well, that's liturgy. That's not real. You got to pray from your heart, not what's on the page. And so for a long time, it was just my thing. And to make a long story short, fast forward many years after we met, she's seen my love for the liturgy. I try not to never push it on her, but we did have like a little chapel in our home where I would pray morning prayer, evening prayer, things like that. Sometimes offer incense. And my kids, the liturgy just was very formative for them. And I think Leslie saw that. And it was my wife who finally told me when I was pastoring a Methodist church in Virginia, she said, you know what, I'm ready to be an Episcopalian. Because she knew that I was supposed to be. That was, people were calling me the high church Methodist and didn't like it. I could not be that. That was who God had called me to be, even though it started in a low church tradition that I still appreciate dearly. And so she said that. She found my first job. I laid down my ordination in the United Methodist Church, went and started all over as a lay professional. I was on staff full-time as a lay person, in charge of Christian formation at a church in the same diocese I am now, and just started all over. Eventually, I was ordained a deacon and then ordained a priest, and I've had a couple churches since then. So that's how that happened.
I think there's a reverence that I think is missing from a lot of other denominations.
That's a good word.
I think that's the difference there. Is there's a reverence that I think we lack sometimes.
100%. And I picked that up on too. You said that it's not about entertaining me, but embracing the full revelation of Christ. And it's like we've turned it into like, an entertainment media, like logo driven, like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we've marketed it way too well.
Yeah, there's this movement, there's so much about like the friend of Jesus that we miss it on the magnitude.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes, the majesty. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to hang out with our boy, not like bow to our Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good.
Boy, that'll preach.
Yeah,
There's a title.
There you go, man. There you go. We have a question from one of our listeners here. It says, if the whiskey priest is on an island and he only gets a choice of one of the following, what does he choose? George Dickey Tennessee Whiskey or Defiant American Single Malt?
Oh my gosh. George, Dickel all the way. I am never gonna, the good state of North Carolina may produce Defiant single malt whiskey, but I'm just gonna ask them to stick to corn whiskey,
All right.
and I'm gonna pick Defiant because it's from my home state.
Corn liquor.
I mean, not Defiant. I'm gonna pick George Dickel.
I think these questions are coming from the gallery.
I believe they're coming from the crowd.
Yeah,
That's right.
Because they know those are two of my least favorite whiskeys.
Now you done Scotch. You brought Scotch
I
with
did.
you
Mm-hmm.
and bourbon. For maybe the people that don't understand, what is the difference between Scotch and bourbon?
Okay. Well, a lot of people don't realize that all bourbon is whiskey, all Scotch is whiskey, but all whiskey is not bourbon and all whiskey is not Scotch. I think that's one thing to remember is that they're in the same family. They're kissing cousins.
And no bourbon is Scotch.
That's exactly right. So bourbon has to be made in the United States, as you know. It has to be aged in virgin oak. It has to be 51% corn, and so forth. Some of those basic rules for Scotch is that it's 100% barley. It's malted barley. And when you look at something like this is a 25-year-old Glen Scotia. It's possibly the best fine liquid that I've ever tasted. And I love Campbelltown. And it says single malt Scotch on it. And what that means is that it's from a single distillery and it's 100% malted barley. That's all that means. A lot of people think it's like single barrel, but it's not like that. Okay. But what you can get, this happens to be a single barrel, and which is also a single malt because it's from an independent bottler, and they basically get kind of off-profile cask from distilleries and do their own thing with it, and then you get something unique, and this is just absolutely glorious. So basically, you're looking at predominantly corn, and virgin oak, where with Scotch, it's all, unless it's a blended Scotch, that's something different. When it's single malt Scotch, it's going to be all malted barley, and it's usually not going to be in virgin oak. America, because if it wasn't for bourbon, we really wouldn't have Scotch as we know it today, because the majority of those barrels used to age Scotch are ex-bourbon barrels that are sent over to Scotland. And so, and some of my favorite Scotches are the first fill. If you think about that, you get this, like, imagine you've got Pappy Van Winkle, 15-year-old bourbons, this majestic liquid here. And you send that barrel over, and the first Scotch that's matured in that, you get a bottle of that. It's going to taste a lot better than the 15th barrel that was, aging that Scotch. Right, yeah. And so I always look for, I love first fill. Scotches, first fill sherry. They use sherry butts and sherry puncheons, things like that a lot for it. So there's a lot of variety with aging in Scotland that is starting to happen more in the United States. The problem is if you do that, you have to call it American whiskey unless you finish it in that. Yeah. So,
gotcha. Yeah. And so this appreciation has now become almost just an addiction, if you will, not a bad addiction, of you just like learning more about it and becoming part of the
hobby.
A hobby, yeah. Let me say
that's a good description.
Especially my wife might be listening.
Yeah,
justify this for help.
Sorry, you're right. Words are important. Let's focus on that. But
all in moderation, kids.
A really good hobby, but again, the Philadelphia Whiskey Society, you're part of that. You're growing, and your palate is amazing, by the way. Like, just hearing you describe it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's perfect. And that describes that. So, what's the next thing you want to challenge yourself for in whiskeys and bourbons and scotches?
Well, I want to be certified, and so there's a whiskey certification that I'm going to do through the whiskey steward who leads the Philadelphia Whiskey Society. Okay. And he has a really cool program that I want to do that so that I can learn more. And then, of course, I want to visit more distilleries. When I visit a distillery, it's so eye-opening. And so I want to go to Scotland and try not to just make a bed beside a cask at Lagavulin and go other places too. But I think those are the two things. It's a little bit more focused education and, certification or two, and then to really visit some of the wonderful whiskeys of the world.
Very cool.
So,
very cool.
Yes.
Any other questions you have, gentlemen?
I think we have a question. Pappy 15 or Glen Scotia 25.
Well,
that's a good question.
Those are fighting words for some people, but I'm going to have to go with Glen Scotia 25 on that one.
Wow.
Okay.
So I started my whiskey journey with Scotch like 10, 12. It was at least 10 years ago, not 15 years ago. There was nothing fancy, drink a lot of that. Then I moved on to bourbon. And now I'm like, just exploring other whiskeys again, like Irish whiskey, Scotch. Like, how do we speak through all whiskeys? Like, is there I can't go, it's hard for me to go back to the Scotch I was drinking after drinking some of the stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
okay. Well, I think, for me, it's an appreciation for, I think, the process. And sometimes I want just an Ardbeg 10-year-old. I want a Lefroy 10 or, Glenmorangie 10-year-old, something like that. And I don't want to pour something super complex, something I know well. Yeah. I think the Whiskey Vault, that's a great YouTube channel.
I'm familiar.
He calls that background whiskey. Sometimes you just want a familiar whiskey that you know that you don't have to get super analytical with.
Gotcha.
And I find that a lot of those whiskeys that maybe you're referring to, I don't know what they were.
Yeah.
But those are like Bunnahabhain 12, $55, something that you can drink any day, and it's going to stack up to. Because I think that one of the myths in whiskey, when I'm learning this more and more, is that 40 years old does not, and $40,000 for the bottle, is not $39,900 better than a $100 bottle of whiskey. Exactly. Yeah. It's nowhere close to that. and you might actually like the $100 bottle better.
Sure.
And sometimes you might like the $40 bottle. So I think you drink what you like, and and so going back to the old ones is fun. Sometimes I do return back and think, I find a whiskey I thought I loved, and then I have these other whiskeys, and I find out my palate has changed.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad sometimes. That actually happened to me today with a whiskey, Ardbeg Uigedahl.
Okay.
It's something that I used to absolutely love. And I recently did a heated blind, and it was last, and it almost made me want to cry. And then this morning, not this morning, but after lunch. I'm on vacation this week, so we're sipping. We're not throwing them back, people. But I had Lagavulin 16, which is what I'm drinking now, and this is one that I've never not enjoyed. It's one of my top 5 probably all time. And I had that, but then I went to Oogie. I didn't want it. And so I know what you're saying. Sometimes your palate changes as you mature in your journey, and that's fine. So.
Yeah. Because I was drinking like Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, like big names, they're pretty young for Scotch.
Right.
12, 15.
And those are some of the go-tos,
They don't look like these, but the colors, not even close.
But what's cool about that is check out all the offerings from these distilleries.
Yeah.
Because you may not like Glenlivet 12-year-old, but man, that 18-year-old is beautiful. Or some of their cast strength offerings like that. They have an Oloroso sherry matured cast strength Glenlivet that is amazing. So,
I'm gonna need more bookshelves on the
So you happen to score. How did you happen to score this Pappy? And if you're not a bourbon drinker, Pappy Van Winkle is kind of known as the unicorn of all unicorns in bourbon. Like this is one's hard to find. If you were to try to buy this on the secondary market, we're looking at $2,300 roughly, somewhere in that ballpark.
Whoa.
For one bottle.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Retail at 150, 160, somewhere around that ballpark. If you can get it at a good price. Secondary, again, $2,300. So how did you happen to get this Pappy Van Winkle 15?
Well, there are benefits to being in a state that controls liquor. And that is the lotteries, when they get these whiskeys, they release them at retail.
Yep.
Yep.
And so every year I enter this lottery and basically my wife says, "Are you mad?" Because I tell her I just put in for the lottery for everything from the Van Winkle line. And she's like, "Well, how much would that cost if you won them all?" I said, "Let's not talk about that." Because you never do win them all. You never.
Right.
And so I just put them all in. And this year I actually won for the first time in a lottery. And it wasn't this bottle, actually. It was the Van Winkle 13-year-old rye.
Okay.
And I was excited to get that. But being in the Philadelphia Whiskey Society is a wonderful thing. We have a messenger, and I'll let people know, I was lucky enough to win the lottery, and I have this one. Well, it happens to be $169, and this one's $159. So actually, the 13-year-old is more expensive retail than the 15-year-old, believe it or not. And so I kind of used that logic to see if I could get any, anybody willing to kind of throw me a bone. And someone was willing to, because this guy got even luckier. He and his wife both won from the same household because they had 2 properties in the same state.
Smart.
But they both won, and he wrote, "That's one I don't have. I'll do an even trade." And he even gave me a bunch of food because he's a regional manager at a restaurant out there. I won't say, I don't want to shine any light on any of that, but so I ended up trading him for this, and we were both happy campers.
Yeah.
So
About it.
Wow.
And you were you got the bottle in hand, and you were kind enough to say, "I'm going to drink it with you guys."
yes,
So you brought it down, you popped it open. We had it last night, and we read the book Pappyland
right.
by Wright Thompson, which let's tag him when we are talking about the show. And in the book, he describes that Julian Van Winkle drinks his bourbon with a slice of lime or slice of lemon, just like the rind, a twist of lemon, and then some ice. And so we did that last night with the Pappy. And that's normally something that you don't do to such a fine unicorn of a bourbon. But what was our
But
experience?
if Julian Van Winkle says that's the way that Pappy did it, that's the way we're going to do it.
Absolutely.
And we were blown away The lemon just complement and the ice. It was this refreshing, almost like a limoncello, but not that sweet or heavy kind of finish, but with that spiciness from the oak and the caramels, the vanillas. It was actually really good. We were impressed. Of course, I wasn't that surprised because, again, if Pappy Van Winkle preferred to drink his whiskey that way, we should trust that it's going to be great, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that's the way you drink it when you have a closet full of it too, probably. You're not worried about it.
Exactly. He's got warehouses.
Literally.
Yeah, so that was a good experience, and something, again, as a bourbon drinker, like, I don't know when I'll ever have that experience again, to be able to have the Pappy and not spend, $1,500 or $150 a shot.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate that as well. Good friend. Father Tommy, if people want to watch you again online, go ahead and tell our listeners again where they can find you, where about the church, and things like that.
So our website is wmchapel.org, and then on that page you can actually easily find where to go for our services, and that will take you to our Facebook Live, which is at facebook.com/wmchapel. Try to keep things simple, and just be there. Of course, all of our service times are on the website, but Monday through Thursday at 9 a.m. for morning prayer. And of course, if you're in the area, you're welcome to join. We've actually are welcoming people inside the chapel now.
Okay.
I believe we're at 50% capacity, maybe a little less, and you have to wear your mask. But people are coming back, and we have plenty of opportunities for people to do that with services just 6 of 7 days a week.
Wow.
And so you're welcome to come and do that. But Saturday Mass is at 5, and that's the same thing you get on Sunday, the same scripture readings, usually pretty close to the same music. Now, one thing that I'm looking forward to is we have an amazing choir, and we have an amazing organist and choir master, and I'm so blessed to work with him. Right now, we can only have 1 or 2 singers because of COVID pandemic, and I haven't heard them. I accepted this call in started in November. And it's been pandemic the entire time I've been there.
Oh, man.
And so I can't, based on the singers I've heard so far, I can't wait to hear them all together. And so that will be worth hearing, especially we get to do these really cool, not only like Christian services that you're used to, but we get to do a lot of patriotic stuff. And so we do state services. We're doing a service soon. It will be an evensong with the Pennsylvania Sons of the American Revolution. And we're going to be featuring, we have this huge George Washington window that tells the story of George Washington from his baptism until his presidency and his after the presidency and so forth. And that window, we've been doing a window restoration. That's about a $500,000-$600,000 project.
Wow.
And they are so kind to underwrite that for us. And so we'll be doing an evensong for them, and we will be doing one soon for the Daughters of New York of the American Revolution. So that's something really cool too, and we're going to start getting those on live stream. And we just did a fundraiser to raise the money to upgrade our sound system and to get us. Right now we have these nice cameras and makeshift microphones, but we've got cables all over the ground with these huge tripods. Looks like robots coming to take over. And so we're getting rid of all of those, and we've raised the money. So soon that stuff will be permanently installed with better equipment, and we'll get to put that kind of stuff on. So and my goal, we used to have a state service for all 50 states throughout the year, and we would invite dignitaries and so forth to come to the chapel, and we'd honor them. We would have a tea with all of our silver and all that, and we've over the years kind of condensed that down to about 6 states in our region. And my goal over time is to bring as many states back and to call people and let them know we're praying for your state today. And we want you to know, and use the live stream as a way of actually getting people involved and reconnecting. So that's not right now, but those of you that go to our website and Facebook know that those things are coming, and we're in a pandemic, but it will keep getting better. So
very cool. What any other last minute shout outs to give?
Just thank you for letting me be on the podcast. I'm honored to be here with you and to talk about both faith and whiskey, 2 things that I enjoy talking about on any day. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you.
It's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Again, thank you for tuning in. Next week, we have Zaxby's and KFC battling out at the Chicken Madness bracket, brought to you by Red Hill Brewing. We have Doug Knoll. He is a peacemaker and a mediator to help us understand how to not fight with our wives and our spouses. So we would appreciate you guys tuning in to the Southern Fried Philosophy Podcast. And as always, keep looking up.
You're listening to the SFP Radio Network.